All right, guys. So sorry I'm not able to be there with you guys today, but I wanted to go over maybe the beginnings of this literary analysis essay that you guys are going to write for the Crucible. So I want to talk about introductions, and then if you want to stop after you're done watching this video, stop and then work on an introduction, then go back and watch the second video on body paragraphs. That is your choice. But here's some information on introductions that I think will be helpful for you when it comes to writing an introduction to a literary analysis. So when we think about an introduction, we want to think about what the function of an introduction is, and the first thing is that it introduces your reader, the reader of your essay, to the title and the author of the text in which you are analyzing. In this case, it's The Crucible by Arthur Miller. So you have to, at some point, make sure that you reference Arthur Miller and The Crucible in your introduction. Okay. The second thing, number two and number three are a little bit more abstract, I guess. But the second thing you need to do is provide some context for your discussion. So you can't just go right into, you introduce us to the title and the author, and then you jump right to your thesis. You have to provide us with some context, perhaps some background knowledge of the. Sorry, my cat is here. You guys want to see my cat? Here's my cat. There's my kitty. That's Coda. Anyway, um, sorry. So you need to provide some background and some context for your discussion before you can lead us to your thesis statement. And I'll show you an example of what this looks like in just a second. And then the last thing that an introduction does is provide a clear and arguable thesis statement, which we have talked about before, but I did post the thesis statement presentation that we talked about, I think, at the end of first semester. I have that information on there, so you can go back and look at that again. But the last thing your introduction needs to do is provide a clear and arguable thesis statement. Okay, so here's an example, right? And I'm not going to read this for you. Here, let me move myself so you can see a little bit better. But here's an example that I wrote for you, and I kind of want to take you through this step by step. So what I bolded and highlighted there, you can clearly see that I have underlined, or excuse me, that I've identified the title and the author of the play, right? So that was one of the first things I did. So that you see that, and then here's the kind of the context of my conversation. So this is where I'm starting to maybe guide my reader. So I've introduced my reader to the topic, which is The Crucible by Arthur Miller. But here's where I'm kind of guiding my reader to something a little bit more specific. All right. So, which is this idea of what's at the root of the injustice and so on and so forth. That's kind of where I'm wanting my reader to eventually go by the end of this. By the end of this introduction, they're going to have a very clear topic. And the last thing is my thesis statement right there, which is down there at the bottom. So you see at the top I have my title of the play and the author of the play. And then here I have a little bit of context, a little bit of background information about kind of what I'm going to be talking about in this essay. And then that kind of eventually leads me down here to my thesis statement. And that's the last thing that you want to arrive at, is your thesis statement. Now, in this case, my thesis statement is 2 sentences. That's totally fine, but you probably don't want to make it more than 2 sentences. It's not a thesis paragraph; it's a thesis statement. So try to keep it as brief, I guess, as possible. But notice how my introductory paragraph is an actual paragraph. It's not 1 sentence. It's not 2 sentences. It's not 3 sentences. I mean, it is an actual solid, legitimate paragraph. Think of it like, you don't want your thesis statement to be like an appendix, right? Something that just kind of like hangs off and doesn't really do anything, and you kind of wonder why you even have it in the first place. Your thesis statement, or your introduction needs to be something of substance, something that really matters and contributes to the meaning of your paper. So when you're writing an introduction, think about, how can I write something that has meaning to the rest of my paper. So again, just to kind of go back and look at it one more time, you want to introduce us to the title and the author of the text. You want to provide some context for your discussion, and you want to provide a clear and arguable thesis statement. So at this point, if you want to stop, I'm going to stop this video. This one's over, but if you want to stop and go work on your introduction, now you can. Make sure you look at the second video on body paragraphs because that does have the homework for what you need to do for next time. So just make sure you look at that second video so you can know what's coming up next time. Okay. All right. I will see you in the second video, and then I will really see you in person on Thursday. And my cat says hi. All right.